prophet unto the nations back at you all. Praises to the Most High Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shahamashiach Bahashem, Ruach HaKadash. Double honors unto the apostles, the bishops, the preachers out here pushing and preaching this truth, peace, and salutation to the hopeful elect. This video I'm going to tag as the introduction into the book Revelation. I already started a series, but the reason why I'm coming back to do the introduction to the book of Revelation to give us groundwork, a foundation by which we can properly understand the book of Revelation. And it comes from this comment right here that's on my page, my channel, the video called The Truth About America Being a Virgin. Eat the red pill. Somebody by the name of Rabid Player, he said, brother, please help me understand in case I'm lacking understanding. When I read Revelation chapter 9, verse 12, I understood it as pertaining to the last two trumpets from the angels from heaven, signaling the events that will occur thereafter, not so much as pertaining to the world wars we experienced thus far. The reason being for this comes from my reading of Revelation 8, where in verse 13 it states, and I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth by reason of the other voices of the trumpet of the three angels, which are yet to sound. Given the context of Revelation 9 and 12, along with the preceding and following chapters of Revelation, that's why I came to my original conclusion. Please correct me if I'm wrong in this way of thinking. God bless. And I replied to him, and y'all can go check out the reply, okay? Right? And I come back and finish reading what he came back after I replied to him. But anyway, yeah, I'm doing this video to help you out as it relates to the introduction to the book of Revelation. As I said in reply to the brother, Revelation is a book that's full of symbolism and imagery. And if you don't understand that, it's going to be hard for you to decode the book of Revelation, or should I say the prophecy of Revelation, because that's what it is when you read over here in Revelation chapter 1, the revelation of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, which Yahweh gave unto him to show unto a certain thing which must shortly come to pass. So it's prophecy, okay? But anyway, to give you the background of what was going on during this time that John the Revelator received this prophecy, this vision, this supernatural experience that Yahweh Shah HaMashiach gave unto him in what we know today as the Revelation. He received, as many scholars, theologians believe, this vision of Revelation around 95 to 96 AD. And it was during this time that Domitian was the ruler, who was the brother of Titus, okay? Domitian was straight up a tyrant. This is what you need to know. He was a tyrant. He was a brute. He was somebody that was paranoid, somebody that was obsessed with being worshiped as the Lord God himself. This is the type of emperor that was ruling during this time. And because he wanted to be worshiped, because he wanted to be seen as God, as a spiritual entity to be obsessed with, anybody that was preaching the true Lord, which is Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, was automatically seen as a threat to Domitian. This is what you need to know. And as a result of that, anybody that was preaching about the truth, anybody that was preaching about the kingdom of Yahweh, anybody that was preaching about Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, they had to go. In the eyes of Domitian, they had to go. He couldn't stand to have that going on underneath his rulership. Now understand this. Rome had censorship. They had informants. They had political spies everywhere during the reign of Domitian. And there was a letter circulating from the Roman Empire openly saying that Rome was going to punish, going to judge anybody that was pushing and preaching the truth. This is what you got to understand that. Okay? And because of this, John the Revelator, he had to use imagery. He had to use great symbolism to talk about things and to relate things unto his fellow servants, which was the prophets. And when the prophets read these imageries and these symbolism, they knew exactly what John the Revelator was talking about in his vision. But here's the truth right here. This is your understanding right here. He used imagery, he used symbolism, right? As I just said, because Rome had informants, they had political spies everywhere, right? He used symbolism, he used imagery in order to get this book, this writing, this prophecy in censorship so that it could be spread across the known world at the time. So that's why when you read the book of Revelation and you see the great whore is talking about who? Rome. See, John couldn't come out and talk about Rome because he needed to get this past, Rome. He needed to get it in censorship. So he couldn't just flat out say Rome. No, he had to use symbolism, which he knew his people, which he knew the other prophets would understand what he was talking about. So instead of saying Rome, he said the great whore. Instead of talking about the Caesars of that time, he talked about beasts. And talking about the great whore and talking about the beast, this was imagery to let you know that the Roman Empire was about to be judged and destroyed. Okay? And that's why he had to use symbolism. That's why he had to use imagery. Because if he'd have sent this revelation to the churches and to his fellow preachers, his fellow prophets, and they was out there talking about Rome and Caesars and, the kings and emperors of that time, it would have got them in trouble. It would have got them arrested. It would have got them executed. It would have got them hunted down by Rome and their authorities. So the Most High pressed upon John to speak in Hebrew coded symbolism, apocalyptic imagery, and prophetic metaphors, okay? So that the righteous could decode it and the Romans couldn't. This is why when you look at Matthew chapter 13, around the 11th verse, Yahushua told his apostles, he told his disciples, to you is given to know the mysteries, but to them that, that's not part of this truth, is not given. So even if Domitian and his authoritative figures, his followers would have read the book of Revelation, they looking at it like, oh no, it's not talking about Rome, so it's okay for us to allow this into the public hands. It's okay to allow this into censorship, okay? Because the mysteries was hidden from them, because the truth is not to them. The truth was not for them. It was hidden, but those who was part of the community of the righteous people, they understood exactly what John the Revelator was talking about. And this is why people today, when they read the book of Revelation and they don't know the background, they don't know what was going on during that time, it's hard for them to decode this book because there's a lot of imagery, there's a lot of symbolism that's going on. And if you don't know the culture of Hebrew Israelites, if you don't know the culture of that time and what they was dealing with, you're not going to be able to decode this book, Revelation, even for today. You have to understand a lot of things in the book of Revelation, not only was it applicable for that time and applicable for the near future, but it was applicable for the times that we are living in. And this is why I'm breaking down the book of Revelation right now so that you can understand what applies to today. Like I said, great symbolism and great imagery was used. And when you look at prophecy sometimes is dual prophecy, sometimes it's triple prophecy, sometimes it's quadruple prophecy. Even more than that, depending on what prophecy you're looking at. Okay? So when they talk about the great whore, not only is it, you bring it down to the natural way of things, women, how they act and conduct themselves, But at that time, it was specifically talking about Rome. And as it relates to prophecy in the future, it's talking about who? America. And we're going to help you to understand this when we go through this book of Revelation. And now, the first one I already did, and it's titled Breaking Down Revelation Chapter 1. Make sure you go check it out. But I'm coming back to do this introduction to help you to understand what's going on. Okay, but be as it may, Revelation was prophetic war document disguised as poetry. And to give you a few examples, again, when it's talking about Babylon the Great, it's talking about Rome in that day and time, when Domitian was the emperor, when he was in rulership, and when John the Revelator received this vision of revelation from Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, but also is talking prophetically about America. America is modern day Babylon the Great. When it's talking about the beast, it's talking about Roman imperial system that they had in that day and time. But the beast is also prophetically talking about today who? America, the system that it operate upon, which a lot of us like to refer to as the Matrix. When it's talking about the dragon, it's not actually talking about no dragon that you see on cartoons or whatnot, but it's talking about Satan working through empires, which during that day and time, who was the head empire? Rome. And today, who is the head empire right now? America. When they talk about the 7 heads, it's talking about the 7 forms of Rome government. And also, naturally speaking, Rome sat upon 7 hills. So 7, But it's also talk about prophetically today about the government of America. And you see this government always trying to sanction, always trying to police everywhere in the world. And when it's talking about the 10 horns, hear me out. Not only is it talking about the 10 kings that was under Rome at that time, but it also talking about the original pact that was made with the EU and the NATO, right? The 10 countries that initially started this thing. So great symbolism is being used, and every symbol was a code, indictment of Rome's empire, hidden from Rome eyes, but clear to the prophets of that day and time. Now, to give you some more background of what's going on in the book of Revelation, when you look at 70 AD, the impact of the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem is playing a big part of a lot of things that have been discussed in the book of Revelation. Again, John received this revelation around 95, 96 AD, but Israel was still in shock. The people of the Most High was still in shock from what happened from Titus, who was the emperor at that time in 70 AD. The mass slaughter, the temple being burned, Jerusalem being flattened, our people being scattered from Jerusalem and fleeing down to Africa, the west coast of Africa, which played a big part in the transatlantic slave trade on the west coast of Africa, because our people fled down into Africa, and a lot of them established kingdoms on the west coast of Africa. That's why when you go look at old maps, you see the kingdom of Judah, or you might see on one of the old maps, the king of Wada, or you might see the kingdom of the Negroes. See, all of that was code talk, okay? But anyway, in 70 AD, when Titus ransacked Jerusalem and destroyed Jerusalem, burnt it down and flattened it, our people, our forefathers, they was brought low and they was enslaved. And this was a fulfillment. All of this is going on that leading up to the times of the book of Revelation, the prophecy of Revelation, okay? And all of that was the burning down of Jerusalem, Jerusalem being flattened, people blood flowing in the streets. All of that was a precursor to this revelation being given to John the Revelator. And it was also a fulfillment of the prophecy that you read about in Matthew chapter 24. How Yahweh told his apostles during that time, when they asked him questions, he said, listen, one stone not going to be left. And who carried it out? Titus in 70 AD. And this didn't do nothing but cause the Israelites, the people of the Most High, to be traumatized. They needed hope since the time of 70 AD, all the way up to the 95 AD and 96 AD, when John received this revelation of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, they was being beat down. They was traumatized. They was dealing with all type of trials and tribulations. And because of that, during this time, they needed hope. They needed a prophetic message of victory. They needed something to encourage them in the midst of these trembling times, right? They needed something. And this was a precursor to John receiving this prophetic message of revelation as a means to not only show that which was going to come to pass, but to encourage the people of the Most High during that time, to help them understand that in the end, victory should be sure and defined. All right? So the Israelites who was preaching of Yahweh Shah, to get back to it, during the time that John received his revelation, the Israelites that was preaching during this time, they was a political threat. And as a result of that, John, he began to be a target. He was one of the last apostles that was living during that time. You know, Peter gone, Apostle Paul gone, and being one of the eyewitnesses of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach and being a leader of the assemblies during that time, since John was an apostle, since he was preaching the truth, since he was telling the people about Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, and because he was a threat to the political establishment of Rome, and especially, right, as I just shared with you earlier on in the video, Domitian, right, who wanted to be God, who wanted to be worshiped as God, because John was a threat. They sought to kill John multiple times. I'm just giving you the background on it. They sought to kill him multiple times. And historicity says that they tried to kill John by boiling him alive. They tried to put him in oil and boil him alive. But they couldn't do it. They couldn't kill John. Okay, go fact check me. Go look up in history. Look up John and Revelation. Did the mission in Rome try to kill John with hot boiling oil? Go check me out. They tried to kill him, but the Most High did not allow John to be put to death because John still had a purpose to fulfill. He still had more prophecy to fulfill. Okay? And you'll find out, I think that's over there. Matter of fact, let me see. Because I'm only trying to help you out, give you the background on what's going on, because, you know, I should have did it first, but we're here now. Let's go to Revelation chapter 10. See, right here. John was told in verse 11, Revelation chapter 10, he said it to me, thou must prophesy again before many people, nations, tongues, and kings. See, the mission, the purpose, the destiny of John was not done yet. That's why they couldn't kill him with hot boiling oil. And I know it may sound like it's a far-fetched thing, but when you go read Daniel chapter 3, what happened? The 3 Hebrew boys were thrown into a fiery furnace, but it didn't kill them. And not even one of their hairs was singed on their head, the scripture says. Think about Daniel in Daniel chapter 5 when he was thrown. Is it Daniel chapter 5? I'm sorry, I misspoke. Daniel chapter 6 when he was thrown into the lion's den. The lions couldn't kill Daniel. The Most High sent his messengers, whom we commonly refer to as angels, to shut the mouths of the lions so they can then, you know, do no type of hurt or harm to Daniel. So this is not a far-fetched thing that John, even though he was thrown into boiling hot water, boiling hot oil, and it didn't kill him, right? So they tried to kill him that way. But because they couldn't kill John, they realized, man, there's nothing we can do. There's nothing we can do to John that's going to cause him to die. He's seen untouchable right now, right? So the next best thing that was put upon Domitian and Rome's heart to do was to isolate John, to put him on the isle called Patmos. This is why he on the island. So let's go back to Revelation chapter 1. Okay? This is just the introduction. All right? Listen to what John said. Verse 9, I, John, who also am your brother and companion in tribulation. I told you there was a lot of tribulation going on at the time because of 70 AD when they burnt down Jerusalem. And our people had to They flee from Jerusalem and fled down into Africa and the west coast of Africa, and they would suffer all type of persecution and tribulation. They needed encouragement. And he goes on to say, in the kingdom and patience of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach was in the isle that is called Patmos for the word of Yahweh and for the testimony of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. So John, right off the bat, let them know, listen, I'm not dead. I know y'all saw them try to kill me. I know you heard about them trying to kill me, but because they couldn't kill me, because Yahweh's hand was upon my life, just like his hand was upon the 3 Hebrew boys when they was in the fiery furnace in Daniel chapter 3, just like when the Most High was with Daniel in the lion's den in Daniel chapter 6, the Most High is with me. But I'm writing you the letter to let you know I'm not dead. They try to silence me. They try to silence this truth that I was preaching. They try to silence this truth that I'm trying to reveal it to you. They're trying to silence me from preaching about Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. But they did it by isolating me and putting me on an isle called Patmos. In other words, an island called Patmos. This is why he was there. Because the mission in Rome, they wanted to get rid of John, but when they saw they couldn't kill John, it was nothing that they can do against John. They said, the next best thing for us to do is to isolate him, put him in seclusion. So they put him on an island called Patmos, man. And Patmos was like a Roman prison. It was barren out there. It was rocky out there. It was used for political prisoners, a place to break people mentally. And then the reason why they ultimately put him out there, so John wouldn't have nobody to preach to. They said, since we can't kill him and he's going to continue to preach Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, let's put him where he can't get to the congregation. Let's put him where he can't preach to the people. Let's put him where no people, no crowds is around to hear what he's saying. So they put him out there on an isle called Patmos. That was a strategic move from Domitian in Rome at that time. Okay, they wanted to silence him. John was bold. He preached Yahweh Shah HaMashiach everywhere he went. He tried to strengthen the elect everywhere he went. So to keep this from happening, they said, listen, in order for us to weaken the saints, in order for us to continue to conquer and dominate the saints, in order for us to kill their spirit, to take away their hope, let's get rid of John. So they isolated him and put him on an island called Patmos. They exiled him from all the Israelites believers at the time. Okay? But what they didn't understand, by putting him out on this island called Patmos is where he received, here we go, let's go up to verse 1, the revelation of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. Okay? You see? And let's make this applicable to you. You think when you go and do something, you think when they trying to silence you, or you think when they putting you do tribulation in this world, whatever the case may be, you think that it's just there to hurt you. Don't you know sometimes it's a divine setup? That's why you need to take your stripes with joy. That's why you need to be happy when you suffer for the cause of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. Because in the moment, it may seem, hear me out, it may seem like it's tough, but what you don't realize is going to bring you to the place that the Most High wants you to be at anyway. All right? And this was all part of the grand scheme of the Most High, the divine plan of the Most High. He said, look at here, John. They're trying to kill you. They're trying to take you out. You're doing your purpose. You out there reaching and preaching the truth boldly. Out there confronting Rome. Out there confronting the leaders. Out there confronting the mission. Out there trying to wake your people up. And I thank you for that, John. But now, John, I don't want you to get so caught up. There's some things I still need you to show you. So I got to allow them to do this to you. So the Most High allowed Rome to isolate John and put him on the isle called Patmos so that the Most High may deal further with John. See, sometimes you go do things and you're not realizing it that you're going through things, so the Most High has to get you somewhere else so that he may deal with you on a greater level. If John would never isolated to the island called Patmos, we would not be reading about the revelation of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. So this was all part of predestination. This was all part of the prophetic nature of the Most High Yahweh to get John there. Okay? Now, like I said, the book of Revelation, if you don't understand symbolism, if you don't understand imagery, you ain't not going to understand the book. You're not going to be able to decode it right. So when John was out here on an island called Patmos, when he was removed from the world, removed from distraction, removed from persecution, removed from being beat down by the world, being sought out, being hunted down to be killed by Rome Empire. Huh? This is where Yahushua was able to show him not only about the times of 95, 96 AD or what they were dealing with and what was going on in the near future, but was able to show him the end of the world. The same Romans, hear me, the same Romans that tried to destroy him ended up setting the stage for him to receive this book called Revelation, this prophecy, this vision, okay? And then to point out to you again in chapter 1, and you go read it or go listen to my breakdown of Revelation chapter 1. He received the vision of the 7 churches, the 7 seals, the 7 trumpets. Eventually he received vision about the woman and the dragon, the beast in Babylon, the judgment in New Jerusalem. They isolated him. But in this isolation, the Most High was able to download to him the whole future. This is why he was put out on a isle called Patmos. Okay? And this is what I had to talk about. This is what I want you to know as this introduction into this revelation of Yahushua HaMashiach, this prophecy, this book. And so to put it all together, most importantly, this is what you got to understand. Rome thought to exile John in order to silence him because they couldn't kill him. So they put him on an isle called Patmos, right? But what they didn't understand, isolating him didn't do nothing but amplify him. Why? Because on the isle called Patmos, he received this revelation of Yahushua HaMashiach. They thought they was trying to stop prophecy, but instead they was fulfilling prophecy. Right? And the emperor and the empire, they tried to censor Yahushua apostle, ended up being exposed in the most prophetic book ever written. I told you this book is prophecy. It's apocalyptic in its essence, using imagery and symbolism, which the Hebrews of that day understood, and those of us that's in the truth, we understand it to this day. All right? And the same beast, the same Babylon, the same empire spirit that was ruled by Domitian, guess what? Is ruling today. This is why I'm going through the book of Revelation so you can see what's going on. The same way the Rome was in that day and time, the same way Domitian was in that day and time, is the same way, that's going on today with the leaders, with the spirit that's governing these governments. And particularly Babylon the Great, which is referred to those of us that's in the truth and understand as America. Revelation is unfolding right before our eyes. And I'm going through this book to wake up as many people I possibly can because these times are ahead of us. It seems as if we only got months. No, I'm not prophesying and telling you we got months. I say it seems because I see prophecy unfolding each and every day before my eyes. I see the scriptural truth being revealed. I see the scriptural truth manifested. And what the prophets of old and what Yahushua prophesied about, you'll see it unfolding right before our eyes. That's why it's a need for me to take you through the book of Revelation. The message was hid from Rome in that day and time because this book of Revelation had to pass censorship. But when you understand the imagery, when you understand symbolism, it's going to help you to further know what type of times we are living in and how close this day is to the end for real. And so just like in that day and time, just like today, I'm going through the book of Revelation to help you understand what's going on with the empires, what's going on with America, what's going on with the economy, what's going on with the church, what's going on with the elect, what's going on everywhere. And we're going to break this thing down. So make sure after you listen to this, go check out chapter 1. It's already posted on Prophet Unto the Nation YouTube channel. And then I'm getting ready to go into chapter 2 with the first few churches that's in Revelation chapter 2, the first 4 churches. And we're going to be starting with the church of Ephesus. And I'm going to be breaking that down to show you the age, how the age of the church was in that time, show how the age of the church is today, rather. Okay? So make sure you check that out. It should be posted by the end of this week or the beginning of next week. Revelation chapter 2, verse 1 through 7, breaking down the first church of Ephesus. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button with your for your boy. Make sure you share this video. Share the video with everybody because we need to really understand what's going on in the book of Revelation. All right. Peace.